I see to this day, there are so many Palestinians that I see that follow that brand. I've had a Palestinian who was in my own class once who told me that she bought the sneakers from them. And I was like, sis, no, like, no, why did you do that?
You are now listening to the Arab is Me podcast.
The views and opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Arab is Me or its host, Saeed Durrah. If it's haram, that's between them and God. If it's ayib, that's on them. And if it's anything else, just remember, it wasn't us. Yalla, enjoy the show.
Ahlan wa sahlan, ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome everybody to Arab is Me, the podcast that is meant to remind you that being Arab is not just about where you're from, it's about who you are. And I have a special treat for you today. Joining me here on screen is my friend, long time no see friend, Amanne Sharif. How are you?
How are you, Habibi? Long time no see, but I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to chat and catch up.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you being here. And for everybody who is watching, you are in for a treat because this is one of those overlooked part of our culture for some reason. And I keep trying to tell all these viewers, you keep on making fun when I talk about our falafel, then they take it and you say, what happened? Mm-hmm. Then our hummus, then our music, then our homes. So you're in for a treat. And let me tell you a little bit about Amanne. And I want to make sure anybody who's listening or watching, please say mashallah after all of these. I really don't. She does a lot with pins and needles and all this stuff. Wallahi, I don't want her to have some sort of hasad in her fingers and she ends up poking her finger and something happens. So let me tell you about Amanne. Number one, not only is she a Palestinian Tatreez artist, designer, and educator, mashallah, she is also founder of Min Amanne Tatreez Designs. She didn't call it like some name that just works for the people in the West. Min Amanne Tatreez Designs, which is a platform dedicated to preserving and reimagining the traditional art of Palestinian embroidery. She does workshops. She sells embroidery kits, so none of you can say I couldn't make it. There was too much traffic. You can do this at home. And she works with artwork. She's built a global community of stitchers who see Tatreez not only as an art form, but as an act of connection to Palestinian land, people, and culture. Amanne is also, mashallah, co-host of Tatreez Talk podcast, and she is co-founder of the Tatreez Retreat, an annual gathering of Tatreez artists. And I believe this month, in July 2026, she is going to debut her first fashion collection incorporating Tatreez, hand embroidered by Palestinian women in Jordan, mashallah. So that is a lot, Amanne. Kudos to you for all of this amazing work that you're doing around Palestinian Tatreez. I said mashallah about 8 times, so if anything happens, it's just coincidental, okay? So just watch where you walk and all that in case these viewers have some evil eye. And before we get too deep into this, Amanne, there's a question that I ask everybody right off the top on every episode because I like to assess where they are in their Arabness, okay? So the first question that I have for you is this. If we just got done doing Tatreez and we had scheduled to come to an azuma at your house or at your mom's house, at anyone in your family's house, and you had to curate Arabi food that was going to go on that table, and you knew I was coming over, okay? I need to know what's on the table, and please don't tell me some food that has nothing to do with us because I don't want to judge you right off the bat.
Okay, what time of day? Like, is this brunch? Is this lunch? Is it dinner?
Sure. What are these? I've never understood what.
So same across the board.
I'm equal opportunity. Depending, it doesn't matter what times. But let's make it easier for you. I'm going to give you a really Arabic answer. 3:30, 3:34. It's not lunch, but it's kind of lunch, and it's the big dinner.
Okay, so obviously we have a full like meze spread. We have
Of
to
course.
we have to
But that's
have
not,
tea
is
right
that
off
on the
the
main
bat.
table or is that on a small
No,
table?
that's when you first come in. That's when you
Okay.
first come in. Yeah, yeah. We're giving
Now
you
we're talking.
mezza. We got you like shay. And then we move into the kitchen, dining room area. And you know what? Halos, we're all, it's a group. We're getting together. We're sitting down. We're having mensa. Like, let's just do it big. Let's just do it big. And it's a community. You know, Tatreez is an art form that's based in community. Mensaf is a dish that's based in community.
Oh my goodness.
I got
Mensef.
you. I got you.
See, this is why I had to have Amanne
Mhm.
on this thing, because this some of the responses, Amanne, like, I don't mean to make this about me. Yeah,
Mm.
you're the guest here, but some of the responses have been like, well, it depends. Do you have any dietary restrictions? I was like, what
Yee.
are those? What are those? Why is that your problem? Nobody asked that question. So,
No.
Mensef, right off the bat. And it's
Of course.
good. And she's smart. Do you know why, guess? Do you know why, everybody who's listening to this, why that was a smart move? Because Mensef is the perfect 3:30, 4 o'clock Azuma.
Yep.
Mensef is not meant to be the 9 p.m. To all of you youngins out there, they're like, why not? No big deal. I eat Mensef midnight. Slow down, okay? There's a process to this. You don't slam huge Mensef at 8 or 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night with the intention then, like, when you're going to get the knafa and the fruits and the rest of the shay, like, it just throws off the timing. But I appreciate this answer, Amanne. And now, now I'm ready for this conversation. See, this is the pep talk people need to get themselves ready. So I appreciate it, Amanne, so
Sure.
much.
Of course.
Now, all jokes aside, I'm a big fan of what you do, but I want you to explain to everyone that Tatreez, there's actually a history there,
Mhm.
and there's something that needs to not only be lifted up but needs to be preserved. So tell me about the art form itself and why it meant so much to you to devote so much of your life to it now.
Yeah. So first of all, to start by saying Tatreez is something that is practiced throughout the Arab world. Um, I obviously focus specifically on Palestinian Tatreez, but I also encourage you, you who are not Palestinian, who are Arab, to look into your own traditional Tatreez. I've been able to learn Amazigh Tatreez when I was in Morocco in October. It's beautiful. It's really difficult, but it's beautiful. Syrian Tatreez is stunning. There's also Tatreez traditions in Egypt, and again, just in different parts of the Arab world. For me specifically, I really focus on Palestinian Tatreez because as a Palestinian, it's something that I saw as a part of my everyday life. You know this as well. Being Palestinian, it's just something that's in your home. It's in the pillowcases, it's on the walls, it's table linens, it's covering napkin holders. It's literally everywhere. But when I was growing up personally, I did not see anyone in my family practicing Tatreez because at the time when I was growing up, machine embroidery, I feel like really took over. So you would see a lot of thwab, traditional Palestinian dresses that once were hand embroidered, they were all machine embroidered. And, you know, I want to say that there's not anything wrong with machine embroidered because there is an affordability aspect to this, right? When we talk about hand embroidered thobes, we're talking about not just hours, but months of work. And that should come with the proper cost to compensate these women. Not everyone can afford that, which is understandable. But there is also a difference between quality machine embroidery and not quality, which we could talk about later.
Right.
But the point being, I was not really seeing people in my family actively stitching. So for me, Tatreez just seemed like, oh, that's something like the Hejjes used to do, like Min Amanne. And I wish I could tell you what it was that sparked this interest in me to learn Tatreez myself. But I think after years of seeing Tatreez and always having a creative side to me, I decided I wanted to explore something creatively. And I had been on this journey for a while. I tried different painting classes and different types of art classes, and it was fun, but nothing really stuck. And then I decided I wanted to try Tatreez. And at the time, even though it wasn't that long ago, it was only 2018, there weren't a lot of resources for me to learn from. I found a random YouTube video that was recorded by somebody who's now a friend of mine, Roba Youssef, who's a talented Palestinian Tatreez artist. And from her, I learned the basics. I learned about all these books that she recommended. And I just dove in and it became my entire personality. And what I very quickly learned through my own journey was that there is a very, very deep history of Tatreez, again, not just around the Arab world, but for me specifically in Palestine. And the more I learned about Tatreez, the more I learned about Palestine. And I say this as somebody who grew up in a very aggressively Palestinian family. I still was able to learn and continue to learn so much about Palestine and day-to-day life in Palestine and Palestine before occupation, all through Tatreez. I've been able to grow and connect with Palestinians all over the world, and again, continue to learn more. I now have friends in Palestine through Tatreez, and I every day continue to learn things from them. And this art is so important to us because before 1948, this was just a part of who Palestinian women were. Tatreez was a part of our lives, and Tatreez was a form of storytelling for Palestinian women. And
Yeah.
over the years, it has evolved in so many ways. There was a time period where it started becoming economic survival. And for many Palestinian women today, it still is a means of economic survival. It became a symbol of political resistance against the occupation in the 80s and 90s during the first Intifada. And again, today, with the current genocide in Gaza, many Palestinians, including Palestinians in Gaza, are using Tatreez to tell the stories of their lives today and also to process grief and to celebrate joy. For a lot of people, you see it as just like, oh, these stitches. But once you really dive in, you learn it's so, so much more. And at its core, it is the story of Palestine stitched.
Yeah, for sure. And a quick story. After I got married, there was a house fire at my parents' house, and they lost a lot. And Tatreez ended up being a big story for our family at that time because the insurance company asked my 70-plus-year-old parents to document everything that they owned. And they made it so simple by telling them, here's an Excel spreadsheet. Go ahead, put, wherever, whatever you got and the link where you got it. So my mom, this poor lady sitting with me saying, Said, there's no link for my hand stitched
Mhm.
Tatreez style thobe from Gaza.
Mhm.
And I remember she had one that was just over 100 years old.
Oh.
And it was very damaged. And the insurance, your heart's going to break here. The insurance came back and offered her, I think, $20
Oh my God.
and said this was just, quote, a dress. And it was like you could go to Target
Yeah.
and get this thing. And so I also want people to understand a little bit of what you spoke about in that, like, Tatreez wasn't just something that, like, every little girl in Palestine just learned about and just decided to just do. Like, this was a parent passing down to child,
Mhm.
and then also the different patterns could
Mhm.
reflect different villages within Palestine and beyond. Obviously, I
Yep.
know we're concentrating on Palestine, but to your point, like, it existed in other places, but the Palestinian one specifically. So,
Mhm.
and let me know if I should show any of the images and things that you have, or if you can just speak to
Yeah.
um, the different styles
Mm-hmm.
and what that could potentially mean, and how we compare it now to where like people will wear like Dodgers, or
Mm-hmm.
Yankees, and like rep their city. Well,
Yep.
people were and still kind of rock Tatreez to rep their village.
Yep.
And I think that's so
Rep your
amazing.
beled.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, yeah. So can maybe speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, first of all, I remember about your parents' house, and that just breaks my heart about the dress, because so many in 48, when many Palestinians left, so many, as we know, did not know they were leaving for good. There were women who were able to take their dresses, but so many didn't, because they didn't know they were leaving. And so many of these dresses were stolen by Zionists. And it's just like any little bit of pre 48 that we have is so precious. And I think we know that. So I say this is also a PSA, that like, if you do have an old thobe that's like in your family, please, please, please don't tear it up. Don't like reimagine it, like preserve it. But to your point about Tatreez and kind of being hyper local, Tatreez for Palestinians before 1948 was a part of everyday life. Like you said, it was something that was passed down through generations. So my mother would have taught me, or my grandmother, my aunts, the women in my village, and pre 48. Everything was hyper local, from the motifs to the colors to the fabric, and everything meant something. Tatreez is the Arabic word for embroidery, and within Tatreez, there are many different styles of stitches. Some, like the Tahriri stitch, could tell like, oh, okay, she's probably min Bet Lahem, or min al-Uds, or from Ramallah. The type of fabric she used, if she has Majdalawi fabric, like, oh, okay, she might be from the Gaza region. Oh, okay, she's using these kind of colors. She has a black dress with red tatri, she's a married woman. A white dress with red tatri, she's a bride. Maybe it's blue tatri, she's either a grieving widow or a single woman. All of this you could tell by a woman's dress.
I
um
never knew that last part.
oh yeah, all of it, like
I never
even.
knew that like that's grieving woman, or that like,
Hmm. Oh
and
yeah.
I read up on this stuff sometimes more than I think I should. But like I never even knew that. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And something I have learned fairly recently too, through, the amazing Palestinian Tatreezers out there in the world. Even as far as we talk about Tatreez as a visual language, the ibbe, which is the chest panel of your thob, there were times when a grieving widow would rip her chest panel in grief. And this
Right.
was a sign that she was in grief. And when she was done with her grieving period, and maybe she was ready to remarry, she would sew up that tear. And that was, again, this visual language that let her community know, that let her family know her grieving period was over. So your thob could tell so much about you. And even the little motifs, the designs, they all had meaning. They were stitched based on what women would see as a part of their everyday lives. So, you might have different floral motifs that were stitched that could represent fertility and life. You might have, motifs like cloves. So, cloves are meant to ward off evil eye. Cloves have a very strong scent. And Palestinian women, specifically, oftentimes Palestinian brides, would stitch cloves into their wedding dress to ward off evil eye. And they would also make bracelets and necklaces out of cloves that they would wear on their wedding day, to ward off from evil eye. So everything really did have a meaning, and could be very hyper local.
That's like I'm going to school today, because to me, a couple things I think about. Number one, I never knew 99% of this, and like we're friends, so sorry for being a bad friend. I could have just asked. But two, I didn't know. Obviously, alhamdulillah, I'm a happily married guy. I didn't know that I could have been walking around villages of Palestine and knew who was available by their
Hmm.
tatreez on their thobe. This is, fellas, gotta read, gotta get educated.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is incredible. And again, I think and I had mentioned this to you a little bit offline. Like, I think part of what has intimidated me at times is I've always felt that it's not my space to go and
Mm.
like learn and be a part of. I know you do like Tatreez workshops, but like for the average brothers that are out there, is there a space for us like within this space? I'm hoping none of these brothers have a full Tatreez like suit at the NBA draft or something.
Why
I
not
mean,
though?
go ahead.
Why not though?
Why not, right? Yeah, I'm just but yeah. But is there a space for men within the Tatreez circles? And what if they are thinking like me, that's like, man, I would really love to go to this thing, but like, is that normal? Is that like so can you speak to that a little bit? Is it just in my head or
It's just in your head. No, I mean,
okay.
honestly, traditionally, Palestinian men have always been a part of the textile world. Palestinian men have done a lot of the weaving of the fabrics, and pre 48, they would be the ones who would often travel to source fabric and thread that Palestinian women would then hand dye and use to do tafriz. So men have always been a part of this world, and even today, I do have so many men that come to my tafriz workshops or even our Tatreez circles. So no matter where you live, you could probably find a Tatreez circle near you. If not, reach out to me and I'll help you find one. But it's literally just gatherings of people just getting together and stitching. And yes, plenty of Palestinian men and non-Palestinian men are a part of that world. And I think it's important for us to participate in all aspects of our culture that are interesting to us. I whether you're a man or woman, I think it's important as a part of preserving this culture. And again, like I said in the beginning, for me, I learned so much about Palestine through Tatreez, and you'd be surprised what you do start to learn as you stitch. This is the story of your ancestors. If you're Palestinian, this is the story of your ancestors. It's a story of your land. So I think it is important to itch that creative bug that you have in you and with little tatreez. And also, only for the muhtaram men, it's also a great way to meet people, be very
Dear
respectful
brothers,
people.
dear Arab men, this is a PSA. Stop being impressed that the girl that you're interested in selects coconara at the Argila spot. That, while also impressive,
Mm.
if she's at a Tatreez workshop, Amanne is telling you right now, you trust me, that's the cheat code, brothers.
Hmm.
You need to find a Tatreez circle or Tatreez workshop, because I'm telling you, the sisters that are gonna be at that, they are down for the cause. Trust me.
Hmm.
They are
They are
down for
patient.
Palestine.
Okay, they are patient women. They are detail oriented. They are community based. They keep our heritage alive. I feel like that's wifey material right there.
Tatreezmatch.com coming soon. Coming soon. I'm telling you, I'm a big believer in that kind of thing, that like although I joke about the coconara and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes you'll talk to guys will be like, I just can't find and I just can't find. Trust me, bring your culture closer to you and things will happen. You will,
Hmm.
pardon the pun, you will find that stitch and that fabric that you're looking for. And I really appreciate that about, again, all the work that you're doing, Amanne. And so I know you even got to a point where you set up a podcast
Hmm.
really to unite a lot of folks around Tatreez. So talk me through what made you think this is podcastable,
Yeah.
uh, and have there been stories that have emerged from the podcast thus far where you're like, this is why we do what we do?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been a big podcast listener for many years. And specifically with doing my Tatreez podcast, it was an idea that came to me because so many of our stories are not documented by us, um, and they're not documented in general. So I really wanted the opportunity to have our stories recorded somewhere. I initially thought of like doing a book. But if I'm being honest, I'm like, if I wait to do a book, that's never gonna happen. This is not who I am. I'm a talker. And so I was like, I need to do a podcast. But I did not want to do it by myself. And so I bugged one of my Tatreez friends, my Tatreez friend Lena. And at the time, when I first asked her, she was not in a place to do it. And then I asked her again after the start of the genocide. And I said, I was like, it's really important now. And she agreed. And we started doing it together, which has been so much fun. And really, the goal is to provide a platform for other Palestinian Tatreez artists to share their stories in their own words, what Tatreez means to them, how Tatreez has shaped their Palestinian identity, how they show up in the Tatreez world as well. And it's been really cool because we've met so many, like I've met Palestinians who are in Japan. I've met half Finnish, uh half Palestinians living in the Northeast. I met Palestinians living in Australia, in Europe, in Scandinavia, throughout Africa, South Central, North America. It's just been a really cool way to connect with people and connect with different communities. I grew up in a large Palestinian community, but now I'm connected to the Palestinian community in Chile. Now I'm connected to Palestinians in Japan or the Palestinian community in Australia. And it's all through just having conversations. And everyone has a different story, which I think is really cool. Some people are coming to Tatreez in a very traditional way where it's like their grandmother taught them. Some people are coming to Tatreez with a different artistic lens, and maybe they're a digital artist, and that's how they're incorporating Tatreez. But the common thread of it is that they are Palestinian artists, and they are using Tatreez to tell their stories in the same way that our ancestors used Tatreez to tell their stories. Something that I say in pretty much all my classes and like all the talks that I do is that culture is not stagnant. We as a people aren't stagnant. And the Palestinian story isn't stagnant. So Tatreez shouldn't be stagnant. Heritage, traditions should not be stagnant. They should be honored, and they should be carried forward. And that's what I have really enjoyed seeing through doing this podcast and meeting all these people.
That's amazing, and I want to make sure I do a couple plugs throughout. You can follow Amanne online, and you can also go to minamanne.com. That way you can get more information, especially for those folks that are listening rather than watching. Just go to minamanne.com. She's got a lot of resources and things, and you could always connect with her and get a lot of these questions answered. But I think people don't realize Arab in general are very, very intentional. Our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, like there's a story to everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason for it. You mentioned it. It's part of resistance. It's part of just, like if you're Watani, it's more than just the flag. It's the Tatreez, it's the design, even the kofia, made by the amazing Harbawi factory. Like, it's not just a squiggle.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason. This is the fishnet design, or this is that.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything has a story. Do you feel that the new generation are just are getting better at wanting to know this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like sometimes when people talk about even Palestine specifically, they're just like, yeah, but this new generation is something different. you
Mm-hmm.
know yeah, there are things that the new generation is something different on, but do you have a hope in this new generation to learn these things, or for the elders right now to teach these things, or for the young generation to put down the iPad and listen? Like, Where do you see us right now? Do you feel like on a scale of 1 to 10, we're a 10 out of 10 doing everything we can to preserve our culture and speak about it? Or if not, where can we do better? Like what's your thoughts on that 45-minute question?
Yeah. No, I feel you. I feel like for me, I do have a lot of this younger generation, the Gen Zs who are taking my classes and learning Tatreez, and I think it's important. I do see a lot of love around Tatreez. But going back to something I said earlier about like machine embroidery, I see a lot of love around Tatreez, but I also do see some people treating Tatreez in the same manner as fast fashion. You know, I understand that not everyone can afford a hand embroidered thobe. Completely get it. Um,
Sure.
that's why our ancestors stitched their own thobes. Like traditionally, you didn't have a rack of thobes like I have behind me because you were stitching your own thobe. And it takes forever to stitch your own thobe. And not everyone has the luxury of the time to do that. Again, completely understood. But I do think it's extremely important for anyone, especially a Palestinian, if you wear tatreez, if you can acknowledge tatreez, it's important for you to just learn tatreez. Even if it's not something that you practice on a day to day, I think it's important for you to learn, even if you're just picking up a book and reading and maybe not even physically practicing, even if you're watching a few YouTube videos, because it is a part of our history, and it's a part of our history that could have been very, very easily erased. And quite honestly, it's a part of our history that even today is being co-opted and used in normalization tactics. We could talk about, that's a whole other subject, but we could talk about that because there have been brands in the past, and there currently is a brand today, a shoe brand, that is owned and funded by Zionists living within 48, but is under the guise of, oh, it's a coexistence brand, and we work with Palestinian women who do the hand embroidery and these cool sneakers, but they dilute the message of Tatreez and what Tatreez truly means to Palestinians. And quite frankly, they're using these Palestinian women. Look, I'm never gonna fault a Palestinian living under occupation. You do what you got to do. You do what you got to do to survive. It's the fault is with the occupying power who is using our culture as a means of normalization, as a means of coexistence, and pretending like they're empowering Palestinian women. And I think that's stuff I see to this day. There are so many Palestinians that I see that follow that brand. I've had a Palestinian who was in my own class once who told me that she bought the sneakers from them, and I was like, sis, no, like, no, why did you do that? There are so many Palestinians in Palestine and outside of Palestine that you can support directly. But that again goes with like not understanding. And I will say too, like, none of those people, I think they all mean well. None of them were doing it out of malice. They were doing it out of support. But
Right.
they didn't know. And I think it's important for us as Palestinians to educate ourselves in these things. I mean, even beyond Tatreez, I see so many people since the genocide who are capitalizing on Palestinian culture, Palestinian symbolism, to pop off with their brands. And it's a very frustrating thing to see, because there are actual Palestinians that you should be supporting. And we all know that artists have a very hard time surviving in any kind of art form. So supporting actual Palestinians in Palestinian art is really important.
Well,
And yeah,
can I
yeah,
jump in there for a
of
second?
course.
So check it out. Um, I've been in Palestine before shopping and had people advise me, don't buy the ones from this local shop. Arhaslak goes
Mhm.
cheaper if you get it in this other thing. And I went to shops like within even Ramallah and outside of Ramallah, where like I met these people who it's like this old just teta with
Mhm.
these arthritic hands
Mhm.
just sitting there stitching. And I've seen people say, 600 800 لإيش أنا خلص
Mm-hmm.
أنا I'll go لعمان, I'll find the one that says made in whatever. And so I guess the reason why I'm saying that, because I know you're being respectful, you don't want to like name drop some of the things. I get it totally. I think we should, but anyway, we can kind of do our research a little bit. But I think what's important is, and I really want you to mention this, because I don't want people to lose sight of the best way to find these things out. The thing that I always tell people, and you can tell me if this is true or not, is it's okay to do your own audit. You don't need to scream and yell and be disrespectful, but you can ask people who, where, when. It's a very, I used to go into shops and say, where are these made? Fine man. Okay, fine man. Okay. Like, who makes them? Are these done on machine? Are they not? What are the things that you feel, and you kind of laced it in there in what you were saying, but what are like the 2 or 3 questions someone should ask in these situations so they can feel like they're making an educated decision? Because we do live in an era right now where there's cancel culture and there's things like that. And sometimes people just throw their hands up and say, I don't want to have to do all this research. I bought it. It looks nice. Khalas, I move on with my life. What are those things they should be asking to ensure that they're not actually hurting what they think they're helping with their purchase?
Yeah. So first of all, I will drop names. Resolute RGL is the sneaker brand that you should not support.
Okay.
Yeah, Resolute RGL is definitely problematic. And I've definitely seen some non-Palestinian allies who have supported and promoted that brand and have ignored comments of people in saying that, hey, you probably shouldn't support this brand. You should support the Palestinian women directly. But there are a lot of brands that are Palestinian owned that you can support. And I have a list of them through Tatreez Talk. We did a list of them that are Palestinian owned in Palestine that you can support directly. And we're currently revamping our website. We're going to have that list there too. But questions that you can ask are really around like, how are these women being compensated? Are a lot of times, and some brands are not going to necessarily tell you like all the details of how they're paying people. But for example, and this is something I learned from my friend Sada from Durrah. Durrah is a brand that you can definitely trust. They do both hand and machine embroidery. And Sada had mentioned, a lot of brands will pay by the ball of thread. I was looking to see if I had any thread in front of me. But a lot of brands will pay by the ball of thread, which isn't necessarily the best way to pay these women. You want to make sure that these women are either being paid usually it's by the amount of work that they're doing. So the size. So for example, we touched on it, but I'm working on a collection that I'm going to be launching. And the women are paid by the size of the embroidery on the area that they're stitching. And that's sense. That's how the pieces are being sold and priced, based on how much embroidery there is how much it's going to cost, because it's how much I need to pay them. And so I think that's like definitely the number one thing. Also, when you're looking at machine embroidery, again, sometimes machine embroidery might be the most affordable situation, or the most affordable thing for your circumstances, and that's fine. But you want to make sure that it's like locally made machine embroidery, because there are, again, Palestinian brands that are doing machine embroidery that is actually good quality machine embroidery. We don't need our culture outsourced. So if a machine makes sense for your budget, then just make sure that it's Palestinian made machine. And I think those are definitely things that you want to look at. If they are companies, brands that are saying that they work with Palestinian women refugees, how long have you been working with these women, and how long are they in these camps? Like, are they able to get themselves out of the camps through this work? Again, to plug my friend Sada from Durrah, they have talked to us about the fact that some of their embroiderers, they have worked with them long enough that they have been able to buy homes outside of the refugee camps, and have been able to financially support their children. Many of them are widows, for example. And so you just want to make sure that the companies that you're working with are working with these women in an equitable way. A lot of times the women embroiderers are not, they don't like being put on display. So you won't necessarily see many brands that are telling the individual stories, but there are some that do. And Ash, which is based in Lebanon, they share stories directly of their embroiderers. But just because a brand isn't, doesn't mean that they're, sketchy or anything. The embroiderers that I'm working with, they don't necessarily want to share who they are. They're very private. But it's more about understanding that the embroidery co-op that you might be working with is equitable and is not exploiting these women.
I think it's just the big thing here is just ask
Hmm.
questions, ask people who are subject matter experts. I've because there's two things that come to mind with everything you're saying. Number one, a lot of people don't ask. I've met Palestinian women who make soaps
Hmm.
in Palestine that cannot sell it unless it has Hebrew writing on the packaging.
Hmm.
And when our people sometimes see that, they think, oh, this is some sort of, who knows, is this made in Israel? Is this whatever? And
Hmm.
they don't buy it. And then those things don't end up paying that person. So, like, even that you should ask questions about. That's
Yeah.
number one. But number two, and I will say this kind of very, very clearly, we need to stop being these situationally cheap community. And
Hmm.
what, and I'll say this, I don't care. You say that you don't want to go to Starbucks and all that, and you want to support your local Arab coffee shop, and then you complain it's more expensive at that coffee shop. You complain that the bakery is more expensive than Costco. You complain, listen, okay, no, I am never going to shame, and I think, Amanda, you touched on this a couple times already. I'm never going to shame somebody who doesn't have the means.
Hmm.
But if you're just trying to, like, save a buck to save a buck, you're you're costing the culture.
Hmm.
You're hurting these families who are, like, I told this to somebody the other day, Amanda. I know it's kind of separate, going off on a little tangent here, but I was talking to them about the process of these elder women and men when they're ambisafto, they're separating the olive oil by
Hmm.
hand,
Hmm.
by hand. And then they're like, how much is it
Yep.
for the oil? La la la. I can go to Costco and organic and
Hmm.
listen, ask questions,
Yep.
invest your money there. Like, I'm telling you, we need to also kind of kick that a little bit as
Yeah.
Arab and just be like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm the guy that when I go to like an Arab conference or an event and I see like that young aspiring sister who has, quite honestly, a t-shirt I would never wear, and she's just like, I'm trying to establish a brand, and she's talking this talk. I buy for the hustle. I
Hmm.
ain't buying because she'll be like, can you fit in a medium? And Amani, I haven't. I need at least a medium and a half. So let's just say that. But I'll be like, sure. Like, support these
Yeah.
people. And you know what else? Give them feedback. Like,
Hmm.
I have no problem. Like, if you come out with your collection and you say, isn't this amazing? I'll be like, man, that looks hot. Like, it looks like it looks like it's like a sauna under
Hmm.
there. Like, can that breathe? Ask questions. These are real
Hmm.
questions. Don't just
Hmm.
be like, and walk away. So, and I know I don't want you to necessarily have to co-sign every single thing that I'm saying here, Amani, but I think that's a big thing that we just
Yeah.
need to, like, be willing to swipe credit cards a little bit higher. And I will tell you, as somebody who I spent, at one point I had a long conversation with somebody from, it was like an entrepreneurship type thing, and there was somebody who was from the Korean, and then there was also somebody who described themselves as being from like a heavily kind of Jewish community.
Hmm.
Both of these individuals were like, no, we buy from our own.
Yep.
And if our own isn't doing it good enough, we advise them to get better, and then we still buy from our own.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people in the Black community have talked about that. I really think Arab, we need to get to a point where it's just like, if I can get this thing from this person who spent years sometimes making this thobe, just if you have the means, just drop that card. Don't go and spend $50 less, and then 3 days later you spend that on your Prime membership. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or if I'm living independent out here with these thoughts.
No, I got a lot of thoughts on that. No, I completely agree. I think that, you know, it's also something going back to what we were talking about, like with Gen Z too. I think it's one of the things I say in all of my workshops is, once you start learning Tatreez and do it yourself, even if you just, the only time you do it is in that one class and you do it for an hour and that was the one and only time you do it, the one thing that you are going to take away is that this is not a quick and easy practice. It's a very slow practice. And I say that to people because they then can appreciate why something costs the thing it costs. I guarantee you, every single time I say it, there's going to be at least one person in my class who says, I understand why they charge what they charge now. Every single time. Right. And I think that is important to know. It's important to acknowledge. And it's also important to talk about the fact that, like, yes, we should be supporting our own, and we should be supporting Palestinians who are using Palestinian culture as a part of their art. Non-Palestinians, while a lot of them are well-meaning, it's not really helping. You know, I get, like, I've had, for example, specifically in the Tatreez community, there have been and there are still non-Palestinians who will teach Tatreez classes. Don't do that. That's disrespectful. There are non-Palestinians who will use Tatreez as a part of a fashion brand or as a part of, you know, artwork that they are then selling for a profit. And sometimes people are selling them. Let's be fair. Sometimes people are selling them and they're like, oh, I'm donating. I'm selling this and I'm donating. And I get it. And it's well-meaning, but you know, it would be better for you to buy directly from a Palestinian. And actually support them directly. Yeah, there, you know, there's plenty of options. And I will also say, when people practice Tatreez, and again, understand how detail oriented you need to be for this practice, how time consuming, how long of a practice this is, you also understand why people didn't necessarily have 50 different thobes. People were stitching their own thobes. It takes a while to stitch your own thobe by hand. So maybe you can only afford a couple thobes, or maybe you can only afford one thobe a year, one thobe every 2 years. That's okay. These are meant to be worn over and over again. These are meant to last a lifetime. Not even just lifetime. They are meant to last through generations. Because traditionally your great grandmother would stitch her thobe and give it to your grandmother, who would give it to your mom, who would give it to you. That's why you see old thobes that have different patches of fabric in them because they were repaired, or you see thobes that had fabric added or fabric folded and hemmed because the thobe changed as your body changed, because the thobe moved with you through life. So all of this goes back to why things cost the way they cost. You know, I will be very honest to say, like, the collection I'm going to be launching, like, the pieces aren't going to be cheap, and because I purposely chose to make everything hand embroidered. I purposely chose to partner with a embroidery group that I knew would pay their embroiderers equitably. I knew I didn't have to worry about these women being exploited, and they have a proven track record. I'm working with the same embroiderers that my friends Durrah work with, and so it's not necessarily something that everyone's budget can fit. But that's also why I was very mindful that all the pieces are meant to be worn in different occasions through life. So they're not thobes. It's more, you know, modern, quote unquote, modern wear. But it's because if you're going to spend $500 on a dress, I want it to be a dress that you're not just going to wear one time. I want it to be a dress that you can wear multiple times. If you're going to spend, $200 on a pair of pants, it's because I want you to be able to wear these pants over and over and over and over and over again. Because we're trying, as not just as Palestinians or Arab, like as a global entity, right? As people, we are trying to move away from overconsumption, which sounds like contradictory. And I'm like, oh, buy my new fashion collection, but don't overconsume. But it's about being more mindful about your consumption.
Yeah.
And with every dollar you spend, whether it's on Tatreez or it's on, like how many t-shirt brands are there now, right? Like whatever it is, whatever fashion brand, whatever consumer product good you are spending on, that is a representation of Palestine. Every dollar you spend on that could either be a dollar of complacency or a dollar of genuine support and allyship.
Yeah, no, 100%. So basically, by everything that you're telling me here, Amanne, you're probably not a good friend to have for some of the women out there where you live, for two reasons. One, they're gonna be broke, but
Yep.
two, I can already see it on the racks behind you. You're flexing on all the ladies out there. Like, you're still out in Cali, right?
Yep, I am.
Right. So I'm telling you right now, everybody, like, follow Amanne, but don't be her friend, because she's going to flex on you. You're gonna show up and be like, I just got a new thobe. Amanne's gonna like change 3 times in the same night at the wedding, 3 different thobes. So just I need to be careful and understand she's gonna flex, and I will tell you, based on what I know about Amanne, she's not gonna hold back. So like, don't think that there's gonna be this moment of like, just trying to just be nice, or خلاص بلاش هيك. No, she's gonna be like, no. We
Mafi
bring
subtlety.
Yeah.
Mafi subtlety.
Yeah, Mafi subtlety, exactly. Like, this is the time to shine. But I don't know if you, Amanne, if you are aware, or if you've been out there. Have you been to the National Arab American Museum in Dearborn?
Yes, I actually was there in January for the first time.
All right. When I was, do you know this then? And I'm sure you probably do, but when I was there, they said that they do like Tatreez classes for like kids. They'll allow them to like do Tatreez. And I was like, man, this is the greatest thing. Like, have these kids come in and learn Tatreez. So is that something that, for those that are listening, is that something that they can connect with you? Because I know you do kits and things like that, where they can connect with you potentially. If they're not necessarily in your area, can they connect with you, get the things they need, do the classes? Are there resources? Can you talk through a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I will say traditionally, Palestinian girls would start stitching at very early ages. So it's not unusual for kids to stitch. My 6-year-old nephew, he always sees me stitching and he wanted to learn. So I got him some plastic. I got him some plastic needles, and instead of regular fabric, I got him, like a plastic thing that he could stitch. And I taught him how to stitch. It's really about patience, and not all kids have patience. So I personally do not teach children because I don't have the patience to do that. But yes, there are a lot of people that are teaching kids, and there are ways to teach children. I think it's, again, the matter of like, is the child interested? I've had some friends who've bought my beginner kits, for example, to teach their kids. Usually they're, maybe they're like 10 or 11, because there's a needle. So as long as your kid's not going to stab themselves with the needle, they have to have that patience to kind of sit and learn. But it's traditionally, yes, people started learning from a very early age. And, there are plenty of people locally, probably to where you might be living, who are teaching. So definitely feel free to reach out, and I can guide you towards resources. And there's even online resources now. There's so many honestly, today there's so many more resources than when I learned in 2018. When I learned in 2018, there was like nothing out there. It was so
Yeah.
hard. Now there are so many people who are creating content, educational content, doing research, providing materials for people to learn to stitch themselves and kind of go back to the way our ancestors were doing things.
Yeah. When I was probably in my 20s, I remember being at a convention, and I believe this is probably when I honestly first started performing and things like that. So maybe it was like late 20s, early 30s. And I remember one of the ladies, she was around my age at that time. She came to the side of the stage after I was done. She's like, "Oh, I'm so glad I was able to see you perform." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, okay." Like I'm very antisocial when it comes to like the performances, or afterwards I'll do photos and stuff. But anyway, she came and she goes, "Yeah, I'm so glad I made it." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's great." She goes, "Yeah, I was helping my grandmother. She was making bread, and I was planning to wear this thobe, and I got some of the flour a little bit on the thobe, so I had to go back home and switch to the other thobe." And she's telling this story, and she was just like, "Sorry, I'm just giving you all these details." And I was like, "Tell me more." I'm hearing thobe, I'm hearing baking fresh bread, I'm hearing spending time with grandmother. I was like, So again, fellas, I'm trying to tell you, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. That's my wife, Reem, to this day. When we were on tour, we were raising money for Palestine. She was there, on the same tour, and so, wearing thobes and stuff like that. And she's like, "Yeah, I feel bad, but I want to wear this thobe 2 nights in a row, 3 nights in a row, or whatever." And I remember just being like, "Man, I think I'm gonna marry this lady here because
Aw.
she's just locking in this thobe." And again, telling me the story of it and all that kind of stuff. So I keep on saying, I know I've been joking about trying to help these fellas out there, but like that to me, it should be like, number one. And even guys, if you want to score points, Amanne, you can let me know if this would score points. If you really want to score points, do your own research on that, and that's your in.
Yes.
You see some sister out there in an event, and you're like, check her out or whatever. I am telling you guys, there would be nothing better than to walk up to her and go, "Oh, wow, are you from Elvira? Why do you think that?" I noticed the Tatreez style that, guys, Amanne, tell me that wouldn't score like 1,000 points.
Honestly, I would probably propose.
Do you see, guys? I'm trying to help you guys out. Well, I know that obviously some people are going to be listening to podcasts and not watching, but Amanne, I know you sent me a couple images and
Yes.
you wanted to tell us a little bit about those. So I want to pull those up for some of our folks that will be watching this video. All right. So this is our first image you wanted to kind of share. Talk us through what we're looking at here.
Yeah. So, I talked a lot about Tatreez being traditionally a way that Palestinian women would tell their stories. And today you see many Palestinians who are practicing Tatreez kind of reclaiming that storytelling aspect of it, of the art, and also making it their own. And so one of the things that I have been playing with over the years is just photo Tatreez, essentially, taking photography and doing Tatreez directly on the photography, which is what you see here. But specifically, this image, and I think the next one too, are images that were actually taken in 1927, so almost 100 years old. And these images are from my maternal family's village, El Kebab Ramle, which was depopulated and ethnically cleansed in 1948. And so except for one person, I've never met anyone outside of my family from this village. It's a very small village. And one day, in 2020, after my grandmother, Allah yarhamha, after she passed, I was in her house in Brazil, because my maternal family, they resettled in Brazil after they left Palestine. And so I was sitting in her house, very sad, and scrolling through Instagram to waste time. And I stopped on an image, and it was an image of a group of women, and one of the women looked like my mom. And I was like,
Wow.
"Ooh, whoa, who is this? Like, what is going on?" And I scrolled down to the caption, and I saw the caption said, Elek Bab Ramle 1927. And I immediately reached out to the admin of the account, and they sent me the collection of images they had from our village, which are these two images are a part of that collection. And I was inspired to start stitching on these images. And it was just kind of my way of blending the old and the new. So, these images of my family's village and my family really, before the Nakba, living their day-to-day lives, taking traditional tatreez, but making it my own and doing this spin as opposed to stitching on fabric and stitching on a thobe. I am stitching on photography and old images that are, still alive today, almost 100 years later.
Wow.
And one of the really cool things about these images is, as I've stitched them, I've kind of posted them on social media, as one does. And I had somebody reach out to me, I think last year it was. They reached out to me and they said, "Hey, I'm from Melik Bab Ramle too." And I said, "Oh, are you? What's up, cousin?" Turned out it actually was a cousin, a long lost cousin.
Wow.
Yes. It turns out his maternal grandmother is related to us. She has our last name. Her maiden name is our last name. So yes, turns out I have a newfound cousin who lives in 48.
Wow.
And inshallah, one day I can visit him and his wife and his beautiful family. But it's also just like one of those cool things where these pictures from almost 100 years old have reconnected me with a family member that I would not have known existed without posting these pictures on Instagram, like of all places.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I love sharing these just because of like all the spider webs that come along with these images.
That's awesome. I know we have another image here, mashallah.
Yes. So this one, and the next one are two of, these are two patterns that I designed. So kind of the way I started doing tatreez was very organically. I started sharing on social media during COVID, and maybe a little bit before COVID, but really during COVID, because like we were all stuck at home with nothing to do. I had been doing tatreez for a number of years at that point, like two years at that point. And I started meeting people this way. I started meeting other tatreezers just because I was posting my work. And something for me is I use traditional motifs
Mm.
and I like to create my own designs. I also like to adapt my own color palettes, which like you see here, I like use the very vibrant colors. I love monochromatic colors. I think the other picture is like with all pink embroidery, which is like my signature. I love a pink moment. But I love like
I feel like I
vibrant.
see this a lot. Sorry, I feel like I see this a lot in like the lighter colors and like the very popular wedding dresses that you're seeing
Mhm.
now on
Yeah.
social media, like the all white but with like either a red or a pink.
Yeah.
Is there something to that?
So traditionally, a bride's dress would oftentimes be white fabric, and red embroidery, because red embroidery was reserved for brides and married women.
Okay.
Yeah, you definitely saw that traditionally, and I think you see a lot of people now who are trying to tap into some of those traditional things. A lot of times people think like, "Oh, black fabric, red tatreez, that's like a standard thobe," and that's not necessarily a standard thobe. That is a very specific style of thobe, and that was traditionally reserved for like a married woman. So you
Right.
start seeing some people return to that, and you do see people kind of like making tatreez their own. So like with me, like doing the whole like vibrant monochromatic, like that's like kind of my thing that I love doing. It's personally how I even dress. So I started designing my own stuff and stitching my own stuff and sharing it. And that's how I created a business, because like I never intended to, but people started saying like, oh wait, I want to stitch that. Can I buy that pattern to stitch? Can I buy that kit? Can you teach me? Do you have classes? And that's kind of how things really like came to be.
Yeah.
It all happened organically, and it all kind of came from me deciding what my personal style was going to be. So I like to honor tradition in a lot of ways, but I also continue to like make it my own.
This is the flex, by the way, guys. This is so for the ladies out there that are planning to go to that Menusha, Menaish like event that's kind of cute. This is the competition. So like make sure y'all step your game up for this. And my wife, when we were getting married, she said, yeah, pick me up a thobe or two that you like. Amanne, I don't want to tell you how many stores like I went to looking for like there's so many different things, and it's this whole world. But it's the only time, like if she were to tell me, hey, I'm looking for a pair of shoes or something, I'd be like, okay, well, go find the shoes and get the shoes. Like this was the only time I decided to delve into a world I knew nothing about, because I was so interested. And so mashallah, this stuff is beautiful. And I know you had mentioned that you also co-founded the Tatreez retreat.
Yeah.
Is that something you need to be an expert for, or can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I decided to go on a yoga retreat with my friends in 2021. And I was like, you know what? I actually really enjoy this. And I was like, I would love this for Tatreez. So I had hit up my friend Lena, who I do the podcast with. And this is before the podcast. I actually had asked her to do the podcast and the retreat. And she's like, no, I don't have time to do both. She was like, I'm down to do the retreat. And then there was another Tatreezer out there who I knew online. I didn't know in person, but like I'd seen that she had done some events here and there. And so I reached out to her too. And I said, hey, like, let's do a retreat together, and we gather, Tatreezers and just do this. And one of the things for us, so you don't need to be an expert. You do need to know how to do Tatreez, but basics. Like we literally one year we had two sisters who were like they literally not just brand spanking new. They brought their first Tatreez projects with them to the retreat.
Oh, wow.
So they were very, very new. So you don't need to be an expert. You don't even need to be Palestinian. Although, you obviously have to support Palestinian liberation and Palestinian resistance, because then you're going to be very uncomfortable. But it's really just a retreat rooted in community based on Tatreez. And something that we've been very intentional about is making sure that we're honoring other indigenous arts. So the first one that we did was a small private one. It was like invite only, because we didn't know it was going to be a retreat. We just wanted to test something out. It was right after COVID. Coincidentally, it was scheduled for October 2023. It was actually scheduled for about 2 weeks after the genocide started. And we were very unsure about what to do and if we should cancel it. We decided to do it. And I think we were all really grateful, because for many of us, it was the first time that we were in a space with predominantly Palestinians, and nothing needed to be explained, nothing needed to be said. We all were just really in the same space. And it was a beautiful experience. And we went to Santa Fe to honor Native American art. And the second one, we went to Yosemite. Again, we learned some Native American art there. And then last year we went to Morocco, and we learned about some Amazigh art. So we learned Amazigh weaving as well as Amazigh embroidery. And so that was really, really beautiful and really cool, because we got to show them. And by the way, it was my first time in Morocco. I love Morocco. Oh my God. And the people were just, the moment we told them that we were Palestinian, I'm telling you, we had to fight with them to pay them for things. We were like, no, we live in America. Like, please, like, no, we're fine. Like, they were just, if you're Moroccan and listening to this, I love you and I love your country. Like the food. Oh my God, the food. Oh, my
We
God.
have come full circle, mashallah. We started talking about, but you know, I actually, ironically, when for those that couldn't see the images, when when I was showing one of the Tatreez with the frame, I
Mhm.
immediately started thinking Morocco because of the colors,
Oh yeah.
and you know, the that kind of that beautiful blue
Mhm.
that you see on a lot of the houses and buildings there in Morocco. And yeah, to your point, my mom being from Gaza,
Mhm.
once they hear Palestine, and she goes,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I'm in Gaza," they're like, "What are we doing here? Like, take
Mhm.
my car, take my like what, you
Yeah.
know?" So yeah, I'm 100% with you. So um, I know that we're getting towards the end here of towards what we call the albab
Mhm.
portion. But before I jump into that, two things. One, everyone remember MINAMANNE.com, right? Min Amanne,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So you can look up Min Amanne .com. You can look up Min Amanne Tatreez Designs. Definitely be on the lookout for the Tatreez retreat information that you can also find on her socials. I'll post that again. Hopefully, it's floating around my head somewhere right now. And then also, like I said, you are going to be debuting your fashion collection. And as long as
Inshallah.
they're on your site, which you said you are kind of revamping, but at
Mhm.
least your socials, they
Yes.
should hear about all of this, right?
100%. You will see it on my social, on my website. You can sign up for my emails. I will not never spam you because I'm a one woman show and I don't have time to email like that. So feel free to register for my emails and you'll only get important emails.
Amazing, amazing. And at some point too, I'm gonna start kind of making a collection on the Arab is Me, you know, site and socials of all the amazing things of all the different guests that we have. So I'm sure at some point I'll do some sort of thing where I'll buy something from Amanne's, maybe not the thobe. Slow down, okay? You know, maybe not the thobe as a
I'll talk to your
giveaway, but
wife. I'll
maybe
talk to your wife.
but maybe as like the kits or something like that, we'll do like a giveaway on social or something like that. So I'm looking forward to that. But as we get to the albab portion, we always try to tie a little bit of charity to the albab portion, because sometimes people don't want to answer some of the questions. They're like, "Oh my god, I have no idea what I would do in that situation." Well, if they say that, then they have to make a donation to the charity that they chose. But if they get through all of it, then I'll go ahead and make a donation since they won the game, I guess, and I'll make a donation to the charity of their choice. And if you don't agree with Amanne's answers, or you're like, "How, man, I would have said this or that," just put it in the comments. You know how social media works. But the organization that you chose is Salam Charity.
Yeah.
So, real quick, tell us a little bit about your tie to Salam Charity, why you chose it, and then we'll get to the Albab portion.
Yes. So Salam Charity is actually a UK based charity. They started in the UK. They now have expanded and have a team here in the US. And I'm a brand ambassador with them. I actually went on my very first humanitarian trip with them back in
Mm.
February. It was the first week of Ramadan, and we went to Lebanon and we worked directly with Palestinian and Syrian refugees. And when I tell you it was the best thing I've ever done in my life, it's genuinely an understatement. Um, I knew it would change me before I went, but it's I just genuinely don't have the words to describe how it has changed me as a person. I was able to go into various refugee camps all over Lebanon. I was able to meet with people directly and hear their stories. And I was able to see how the money that we raised went directly to help them. I think for a lot of people, especially those of us living in the West and living with the comforts of the West, sometimes it can seem, what am I doing? How am I really helping? Like, oh, is this
Right.
$20? Okay, I'm donating $20 because maybe that's all you have. Is that really doing something? For us, it might feel like it's not doing anything, but I saw firsthand that, yeah, even if it was only $20, it could literally change someone's life.
Right.
For us, $20 goes like that. For them, it could sustain a month's worth of medication, life-saving medication that someone needs.
Right.
Um, And one of the things I really appreciated about Salam Charity, and I think it's because they started as UK-based charity, and honestly, it was started by a couple brothers who were, just trying to help.
Right.
They're not trying to be the biggest organization. They are just trying to do help. They're just trying to do work where they could help people directly on the ground. And so they work in various countries. I went on deployment in Lebanon. I literally was there. I left the day before the war started. The hotel that I stayed at in Beirut was bombed 2 weeks after I checked out.
Wow.
And every single refugee camp that we worked in has been affected by the occupation's bombing. And I'm hoping to go back in September. I'm currently fundraising to go back for a week in Lebanon to work again with Palestinian Syrian refugees, and then a week in Jordan where I'll be working with Palestinian, Syrian, and Sudanese refugees. And every single penny that I raise goes directly into the programming. So it is educational programming like the school that has been built for Syrian refugees in Lebanon. It is food packaging and food aid that is given out to these families in the refugee camps every single day that we're on deployment and beyond with the local organizations. It's
Wow.
medical care, it's rent, it's literally anything. It's in Jordan, they have a huge mental health program that they support through fundraising. So I am constantly now raising funds because I hope to continue go on deployment for as long as God allows me to. And if you are somebody who is interested in going on deployment, you can also reach out to me because we take volunteers. I specifically work with U.S. volunteers, and we're taking volunteers all the time. You just have to be 18 and over, and you have to raise funds for deployment.
Awesome. Awesome. And I know they have a UK branch, but this should be salamcharityusa.org. Is that how they can get more
Yeah,
info?
both
Both.
are the same. So yeah, it's both UK and US are the same.
All right, cool. Well, that's an amazing thing. And as somebody used to, let's say, go on a lot of those kind of tours and things like that and organize those things, I know they're very valuable. So
Mhm.
inshallah, every opportunity that's open, you'll be able to go on, because I know how
Inshallah.
life-changing those can be. So with that being said, we're at the albab portion, and this is where the fun happens. So Amanne, are you ready for question number one?
Inshallah, let's go.
All right. So your friend gets married and you give them a wedding gift, right?
Mhm,
Cool.
mhm.
Nice. They get divorced. It happens, okay. Then they get married again. You buy them another gift, and then they get divorced. It didn't work out. And then again, and 3 and maybe 4 times. So the question is, at any point, do you stop giving them wedding gifts? Do you reduce it? Or are you financially committed to their love life forever?
If it's a good friend, I will continue to give you a gift. I'm going to reduce it. Not only am I going to reduce it, but I am going to drag you every single time because that's the kind of friend I am.
All right. So there is going to be a percentage off. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. I have to
All
come
right.
empty-handed.
All right. If someone was interested in you, I don't know your status actually, so I shouldn't assume, but let's just say you're a single lady, right?
Mhm.
If someone was interested in you and invited you to a coffee shop, and when you arrive, you notice they had already bought their coffee,
Ew.
what's your next move?
I'm telling him my coffee order so he can pick his butt up and get me my coffee. See, I got a little emotional about that one.
But truth be told, it's game over for him, right? Is there any
100%.
coming
No,
back?
no,
Yeah.
no. Like, what is
Fellas,
that? Who raised
fellas,
you?
fellas, be careful. Okay, just be careful. Okay, just because you don't see fangs doesn't mean. Okay, cool.
I got
All right.
claws instead.
All right. Let's say you buy your Arab friend lunch just to be nice. And the next time you're out for lunch with the same friend and the bill comes, they quickly ask you, should we just split it? What's your next move?
I'm shaming them. I'm
call
I'm
them out.
shaming. I'm gonna call them out, and I'm not gonna split the bill. I'll say, here, give it to me. I'll take care of it. I'm paying the bill, and I'm shaming them for it.
Mm.
You know I'm not subtle.
No, absolutely.
I've
No,
actually had a non-Arab so I have, like, a token non-Arab friend,
yeah.
well, I should say my token white friend. I love her, but, I've experienced this with her where she's, like, looked at the bill and wanted to calculate, and I'm like, "Girl, just give me this bill. Let me pay I'm not doing this. We're not doing this. Let me pay this bill. I can't."
When people ask me, they're like, "What would you do?" And I was like, "I would fully pay the bill. I wouldn't split it, but that's the last time."
Yeah,
And they're like, "Oh, so next time?" No. That's the last time I eat with them.
yeah.
Forget last time. No. That doesn't happen because we
Mhm.
remember. And if you don't remember, you might not be Arab enough for us to be hanging out anyway.
Truth.
All right. So let's see here. All right. This one's good.
Oh.
If a random white person
Oh god.
walks up to Amanne Sharif and asks, "Are you originally Pakistani?" Do you explain there's no Pakistani to that idiot, or do you just answer the real answer?
Oh, no, no. That idiot's getting sat down and getting an entire lesson. You're gonna find out not just what area, you're finding out my beled, you're finding out my family tree, you're sitting for the whole thing, habibi.
So if you ever see a random white person looking scared sitting down on a chair and there's a Arab woman wearing some fly thobe doing a PowerPoint presentation on
Mhm.
Palestine, you may have caught Amanne in the middle of the Pakistani experience
100%.
to explain to them there's no Pakistani. All right, so here we go. You get invited to my mother's house, my mom, not just any mom. You get invited to my mother's house, and after dinner, she hands you a plate of her famous dessert that she spent all day making. But you realize you're either way too full to eat or it's not good for your diet. What do you do?
Ugh, okay, so I don't care if it's good for my diet or not, but I definitely resonate with being full because the most un-Arab thing about me is I get full so easily and so quickly. So I will have to I'm gonna take bites, I'm gonna eat, but I'm gonna be a very slow at eating and I'm gonna compliment the heck out of her dessert. So she knows I enjoy it, but she's gonna hate that I'm not gonna finish it. I already know, I see your eyes. I know, I'm sorry. I gotta be real though.
Uh,
I gotta keep it real. I gotta keep it real.
I all right. So here's my next one. All right.
Okay.
You buy your Arab friend a baby outfit for their new baby, mashallah.
Mhm.
Just had a baby, 2 months old, mashallah. Okay. But after you see the baby, you realize, mashallah, there is no way that big baby is going to go fit in that clothes that you bought them, and there's no gift receipt. Amanne, what are you doing in that situation? Are you letting them figure out that that baby doesn't fit and then they hate on you secretly because you know how that is with Arab? Or are you, whoops, like, what are you doing?
Ooh, what am I doing? So I see I have the gift with me to give, and then when I'm giving the gift, I'm like, oof, this is not gonna fit, right? That's the situation.
Right. Like you walk
Okay.
in, you're like, mashallah, this baby's 4.5 years old.
Yeah.
Like,
So here's the thing, I'm the honest friend, but I'm not mean, right? I mean,
okay.
I'm mean if I have to be, but I'm gonna make a joke out of it. I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, bint halal," and I've got a gift, and the gift is too small for the baby. But here, this is what it looks like. I'm gonna make up for it. Give me the baby sizes. So I'm gonna turn it around. I started my career in PR, so I can spin. You know, I can
Okay.
spin.
I can tell if you notice for everybody watching or listening, she did not mention the size because that's where most wars will happen. If
Hmm.
the baby is supposed to be 2 months old, but it looks like it already has argila bishrab ahwa, if you never say, sorry, it's for 3 to 6 months, but shaklu صغير. You never get into the size that you bought. Just say, it's on me, it's my bad. So
Hmm.
she's mashallah, she's PR trained here. Okay. So the next couple, and then we'll wrap up here.
Mm.
And I'm hoping you answer this like I want you to answer, because Amanne, mashallah, and for the sake of Allah, I love Amanne.
Habibi.
She started with Mensaf, then went into okay. Please don't mess this up.
Oof.
Is hummus a meal, a dip, or a side?
Ooh.
Palestinian. Watch yourself.
I'm gonna be honest. I think it could be all three. I think it depends on the situation. Now,
It can be.
I think it can be all three. I say usually for me, and I'm gonna say something very controversial, and I know you're not gonna like this. I don't like hummus. I know. I'm sorry. But
Wrap it up.
hummus is usually a side
Shut
dish.
up your mouse.
Honestly, warranted.
Shut up your mouse.
I told someone this information this last week, and they had that same reaction.
Okay. All right. But at least you know your wrongs.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not-
100%.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Like, you're not like, well, Said, you don't understand. I know it's a natural dietary, because you're a Cali girl.
Yeah.
So,
no,
like,
Bella. No.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
No,
Okay.
no. And
so-
I'm self-aware.
Okay, good. So at least you said it's all three. Okay, no
Yeah.
problem. Good. All right. So the last one, because some of the guests who told me hummus as a meal, I'm like, slow down. Okay. It can be if you have good
100%. Exactly.
So, Amanne, you are running behind for an event, and don't tell me you don't ever run behind. Okay, you're running behind. You put the GPS, you put the address in the GPS, and you realize you are 1 hour away from this friend's event. And your friend texts you and says, Amanne, Wenik, where are you? How far are you? Amanne, what's your response that you send to that friend?
Okay. So
Knowing it's an hour, what are you saying?
Okay, so normally I actually, believe it or not, I actually am always very punctual. It's a known thing. However, I definitely have been late from time to time. And if I was in this situation, I would probably be making up a little story about, oh, there was just an accident. Girl, there was just an accident. I will be there. I will be there as soon as possible. But if there was an accident, alhamdulillah, everything's fine. Everything's fine, but there was an accident, girl, so it's just gonna take me a little bit longer, but I will be there. Do you need anything? Should I grab anything on the way?
And you guys got to be careful, because if you go to an Arab event, Arab will be the first ones to say, why, where, what were you driving? A highway. Amanne, what do you mean you were on the 40? And I was on the 405. What side were you, like, what? So just be careful, guys. It's very risky. She just went into a high risk answer. But, the point being is, if you noticed, everybody, if you want to know what kind of person Amanne is, she never said an hour. I'm just letting everybody know. She avoided the time discussion and just created, and she gained like an emotional kind of response from her friend now, who's just like, oh my God. And now she's telling everyone. And then your first 20 minutes when you get there, you're explaining to everybody what happened, and you probably are getting very creative. You're like, the car kind of take upside down, and it had 2 wheels, and I saw a bicycle helmet coming out of the exhaust. Like, it gets creative. But
either way, everyone's okay. Everyone's okay.
Either way, you made it through the gauntlet here. There was a couple questionable things, whatever. But you still made it, but we'll still make sure we're donating to Salam Charity. So I appreciate that. I know we took a little bit of your extra time, Amanne, but it was a lot of information you were sharing, and I really appreciate you being with us. Again, everybody, remember Min Amanne, Minamane. Min Amanne. Look up her designs, look up her work on her social media, on her website, on her podcast. You can find her in a million different places. Please treat this like studying. Go study up all the information that she gave us today. So I really appreciate your time, Amanne. I hope you had a good time.
I had a blast. Thank you so much. This was so much fun, and we could probably talk for hours. So we should definitely end this now. But thank you so much for having me on. It was so fun.
Thanks, Amanne. We appreciate it. And for everybody else, like, share, subscribe, send everything about Amanne and everything about Arab is Me podcast in your WhatsApp groups to all your friends and family, and send it halfway around the world, inshallah, so we can get more people being part of this culture. So thank you again, Amanne, and thanks everybody. Salamat. We'll see you on the next episode.